Hi, we're back again. Uh, we're going to be looking today. Actually, it's evening here. It's Easter Monday, so happy Easter to you all. Some of you may also have enjoyed the Passover on Wednesday, but we today are celebrating still Easter Monday, as it's called, because we should always keep that resurrection spirit in us. We're going to be talking about Franz Kafka and The Hunger Artist, the story that's up for this week. Actually, should have been maybe up at the end of last week. Anyway, we're going to study it, look at it tonight. Uh, Kafka is probably best known for the Metamorphosis, which is a kind of an odd story, postmodern, ironic. Apparently, when he read it to his friends and neighbors, he laughed all the way through. It happens to open this way. Gregor Samsa woke from a troubling dream to find he'd been transformed into a gigantic insect. And the 30 or 40 page story then uh, follows the antics of a young man trying to live in the same apartment with his family, although he's sort of he is a huge bug. Uh, in The Hunger Artist, we're seeing a different kind of person. This is a professional faster, uh, and the story opens with a kind of a review of how the hunger artist is losing popularity in Europe. Used to be a popular attraction. That is, this hunger artist would sit in a cage, nothing in it but straw on the floor. He didn't have a chair even. He kind of sat in there in a sort of leotard, and people could watch him, make sure he didn't eat or just look at him as a phenomenon, because his agent took him to many European cities, and whatever city he was in, he would fast for 40 days. That's all his agent would allow, though the hunger artist, who fancied himself a great artist, wanted to fast for much longer, but his agent never let him. Guess why? Oh, well, that's about all you can live, 40 days, and we have the record, or anyway the biblical text of Jesus in his fasting in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. And that's become kind of a standard, and most people, I think, can't get past that limit, or if they do, they're pretty much gone and out of it already. Anyway, so the hunger artist's agent uh, does not let him fast for more than 40 days. At the end of 40 days, then wherever the village or city happens to be in, two young women who've been chosen by lottery come to the cage. The door is opened. They lead him out, or they try to, and if he's too weak, then his agent has to come and help them. They take him to a table where a meal is waiting, the first meal in 40 days. And generally, this seems to cause the hunger artist to become nauseated. He doesn't really care to eat. And while he's doing his fasting, there's generally uh, two to three guards. A little comic and an ironic point is, for some reason, they're often butchers. he, he, he doesn't eat meat. He's probably a, a vegetarian, or maybe even a vegan. Who knows? Anyway, the guards, he prefers those guards who keep an eye on him all night, even shine flashlights or lanterns in on him inside the cage to make sure he's not eating a thing. And the guards he doesn't like are those who, well, move off to the edge and play cards or something. And just to let them know that he's not eating at all over the evening or over the whole night, he'll even sing to let them know that in his irritation, because he wants them to keep an eye on him, because he loves everyone to know that he's an honest, true hunger artist who does not eat. So when they play cards, he gets irritated, and when he has careful guards, he likes it a lot. But the guards, when he's singing, they'll think, "Huh, he's really something. He can not only uh, eat, but can sing while he's eating." But of course, he's not eating at all because he loves to be a hunger artist. Now, we then move into the story and find that indeed, as the opening suggests, the public interest in the art of fasting began to fall off, as it does for every artist, for a singer or actor or just about anybody who's gains public popularity. After a while, the flavor of their act or the personality or whoever they are starts to fall off, and they're not as popular as they used to be. Eventually, as the audience size and the gatherings around him falls off, he decides, okay, and he's a little angry at his agent too, who never lets him fast for more than 40 days. So he sells himself, he gets rid of his agent, and he sells himself to a circus where there'll always be a crowd to see him. And he's put down a kind of a passageway on the way to the cages that hold animals. So during intermission at the circus, people can come down this pathway and see him on their way to the animals. And often they just push right past him. Now, they're not that interested in him. They're interested in the animals. So they go right by him. And more interest is lost in him. Occasionally, some children are interested in him. And perhaps he did as he did earlier when he was a very popular hunger artist. He would stretch his hand outside the cave or cage and let the young people see how wrinkled and bony his arm was. Now he's at the circus. Uh, Fewer people are interested in him. And one day, uh, somebody says, he's called a supervisor. He says, what is in that cage? And somebody says, well, that's of course that's the hunger artist. That's where the hunger artist is. And he's had posters around his place and everything, and those are shredded or gone, so it's difficult to know who he is. But they do know that it is the hunger artist. And the supervisor, this is a man at the circus, pokes around in the straw with a stick and realizes there's a man in there with all the filth and everything else, because you can imagine. He's been there more than 40 days. Nobody knows how long he's been there because they stopped keeping track. And the supervisor said, are you still fasting? When on earth did you plan to stop? And forgive me, everybody, the hunger artist says, I didn't really mean to stop at all. He's kind of whispering now because he has no energy. And he says, forgive me. And the supervisor says, we forgive you. And he says, well, don't forgive me. He says, okay, if you don't want to be forgiven, we won't forgive you. Uh, uh, but you shouldn't admire me, the hunger artist says. And the supervisor says, all right, but why shouldn't we admire you? He says, because I have to fast. I can't help it. I don't like food. If I ever found any food I liked, I would have stuffed myself like everybody else. So that's his artistry. He can't help what he's doing, which is often true of many artists. And these are his last words. He dies, and the supervisor says, now clear this out. And they take and bury him with the straw. And that's the end of our hunger artist, who is now joined by my cat.